Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we are taking a third look at the Boom Racing Aggressor, the tire that for some reason has captured my interest and the one that I want to make do better than it's done so far. You may be asking yourself, why would you test this tire 3 times if it's not that great of a tire? And honestly, the answer to that question is simply, I want to see if I can make it better than it's been. I like Boom Racing as a company. I don't think they make good tires, in my experience, but I want the Aggressor to potentially stand up there with some of the greats. J Concepts, some of the better Pro-Line tires. I want it to be a top-tier contender, and I don't know why. But really, at the end of the day, the why doesn't matter. I'm giving it a third shot to see what we can do with it. And right off the bat, still having the same problems that we've always had. Lots of side slide on the side hill. This has been common with the Boom Racing tires. This was present in the Hustler. This is present in the Aggressor. And this is their stickier black compound. But still lots of side slide on the side hill. I believe once we can get over that side slip, the Aggressor actually does quite well on the side hill. Now I kind of wonder if part of this still isn't insert tuning. And that's really what we've been doing with the Aggressor since the first review, is we've been trying to find the insert that really will work well with it. The first review, we ran it with the factory dual stage inserts that it came with. And although those inserts ended up being, I'm going very slowly now or else it's going to roll out. Slow and steady seems to be the way on the side hill today for the Aggressor. But the initial review was done on the factory dual stage foams that initially I thought were completely crap, and they turned out that there's certain tires that they work pretty well in, but they don't work well in the Aggressor. And I think the issue is with especially this black compound being pretty soft, those dual stage foams, although dual stage were, I think, also too soft, and I think the inner firmer foam was undersized for what this tire needs. So those kind of work good in a thick carcass. I've actually had really good luck with them in like RTR tires or your cheaper Amazon tires that just have like a 3 millimeter thick carcass and stuff like that. They've actually worked well, but they didn't do good in here. And so on our second review, we put Crawler Innovations Little Novas in them, the 475 size Little Novas, which they improved performance a lot, but if anything, I thought these might be overstuffed. And so I thought, well, maybe I should run Crawler Innovations 4.5-inch Novas, and we will try those. But that's not what I'm doing today. Today, we are running silicone 3D inserts in these. So these are Injora silicone inserts, and I've got greens up front and I've got blues in rear. And one thing that I noticed coming up the side hill was the rear seems to slip out a little more than the front. And I don't know if that's because, you know, I've got steering on the front, so obviously I can counter it a little more. I don't know if it's because there's more weight on the front, and so that helps it not slide as much. Or is it because the insert I have in the rear is the blue insert and the insert I have up front is green? I honestly think it has to do just with the fact that the rear of the truck is a little bit lighter weight and I have steering on the front. I think I'm getting close with insert. We're going to see how today goes, and we might still end up trying the 4.5-inch Crawler Innovations, but I don't know. Filming today is going to be a little bit different, and the course today is going to be a little bit different. As you can see, there's the water level of the lake. Those trees usually are not underwater. Those trees are usually several feet from the water line, and so the lake is very high. We have a ton of rain lately. The lake's really high. The ground is very wet. I'm going to have to walk very carefully. And so this means a couple things. We have lost one of our obstacles. We've actually lost two of our obstacles. Well, we lost one obstacle and one obstacle transition, I'll say. So we lost wet or dry. And with the way the lake is up so high, where the water line is, it like steeply drops off. And so I don't know if I can even find a good spot to really get the tires wet to do a wet tire test. However, the ground is so wet that I think we might be doing have an opportunity for getting the tires loaded up. They're probably going to get fairly dirty today. The rocks are all still damp. So today will be interesting. We're going to do some different testing, some different obstacles. Most of them will be the same, but since we have lost our second obstacle, right here is what I'm going to replace it with for today. So let me find a good spot to film this from, because I forgot to do that. Okay, so what we're going to do is be just driving up this rock. Nothing too complicated here, but I think there is a spot right here at the base of it. My truck, right here, the water line is like right off the edge of the camera. I think I can just dip the tires in the water and get them wet here. So I can try to do a wet tire test is what I'm going to attempt. But I'm going to have to dip the tires front and rear. Maybe I can put a rock down there to drive on. Because the water just drops off abruptly here. Because it's so high. Where I'm standing, my left foot is 6 inches from the water. And normally where I'm standing, we would be about 25 feet probably from where the water is. So it's up a lot. All right, so wet tire test. Here we go. So far, we're not able to do much. My Cross RC NT4 was able to drive up this yesterday with Traxxas Canyon RT tires. Now, granted, they weren't wet, but they were muddy. So I would expect a tire to be able to do this. Not able to do it slow. Let's try a little bit of wheel speed. And we slip back. Rear tire's getting kind of loaded up now, getting kind of dirty. A lot of bounce from that rear insert. That blue might be a little over firm in the rear, but with these blue inserts, they soften up quite a bit. These Enjoy inserts do. And so I thought greens in the rear would be, oh, good grief. I thought greens in the rear would be too soft. But we'll have to see. This could be the reason the Aggressors are getting so many chances, is because I'm struggling to find an insert that pairs well with them. And you might ask yourself, well, maybe there's not an insert that pairs well with them. Yeah. Yep, I'm with you. All right, I think we're going to have to bypass this obstacle. I don't see us getting up it. Let's give her one more shot. Part of the problem is right here at the base of it, we've got basically mud. It's pretty slick. And now I've got a bunch of mud on the base of the rock. I think what we'll do, let's run the rest of the course, and then I'll come down here. I'm going to try to let that dry out a little bit, that rock, and let these tires dry. And we'll try this again dry instead of wet. And if you're a regular viewer with keen eyes, this here is one of our normal obstacles. Obstacle number 3. But you might notice that the angle that we're filming from is different, and that is because the spot where I normally stand to film this is underwater. And already the Aggressors are struggling for traction and the loose ground to get me up over these loose rocks. Now, I'm not going to blame this on the Aggressors quite yet, because I came out here yesterday and I didn't end up doing any tire reviews because I wanted to try to let the ground dry out some. I did run my Cross NT4 with the Canyon RTs. but I didn't do any tire reviews or something, so I'm gonna try to compare this against how the Aggressors did previously, but also when I get some other tires mounted up and do another test, it's gonna kind of be the real testament of how usable is this course right now with the ground being so slimy, because the mud out here, when it gets wet, it's like clay, and it's really it's really slimy, and I mean it's like wet Play-Doh. So I think it's gonna have an impact on our tires, and so I don't know how many reviews I'm actually gonna be able to get done. Right here, I don't recall the Aggressor having this many issues here, although because the elements exist, I have had to change this obstacle up a little bit, and I think it's been, I don't think the Aggressors have run it on the new line. But what we're having trouble with here is this rear tire needs to hook on that ledge and pull it up, and it's having trouble doing that. Oop. Give it one more shot here. I mean, I can tell you one thing. Every tire is going to get wet whether I drive it through the water or not, just because of the ground. And the Aggressor doesn't like being wet. And it doesn't like this dirt. Well, we kind of could bump, but it doesn't have the predictability or control to really bump it up there straight. I need the rear to pivot a little bit. Oh, nope. Nope. All right, let's try it from here. There we go. All right. Technically able to do it, but that was rough. You guys have to bear with me today on some of the camera angles and stuff. It is so far a lot of the spots where I normally stand are completely underwater, and finding a place right now where I can set the camera and where I can stand close enough to it to see the camera and be able to see the truck and be able to talk and be on ground myself that is stable, where I'm not either sinking into mud or standing precariously with muddy shoes on a slick rock. It's kind of challenging right now. They have the dam fully open. It's been open. It was open all day yesterday, and the water level has dropped a little. It's dropped quite a bit. I mean, it's probably dropped a few feet, but I think the lake is like 10 feet up or something as of yesterday. So coming off that side hill there, we slid a little more than usual. It's all right. Didn't really cause any major problems. And then normally you would be seeing this. I would be standing to the left off camera, probably 15 feet, but that looks to be quite a ways underwater right now, so I can't stand there. But driving it even from this, oh shit, whew, that 2300 kV Fusion just about launched us off. I wasn't too far from being launched off into the water. But this angle, driving at this angle, is a little more difficult to see. But this is really the only place, because see where that rock is poking up? That's about where I normally would be standing. A lot of push to the Aggressor. I remember that from the other reviews, is they don't have the best control. It's not the best steering tire. It tends to push a lot. That's what we're seeing right now. I need that front tire to hook there. I might have to change the way I drive this obstacle. I can't see it well enough. I think this big rock right there, this wasn't that tight before. I think that rock, either part of the obstacle fell off or that rock fell down. Hang on. Okay, I could actually see the line in the mud where that rock had slid down, the top one, to the driver's side. Slid down about 6 inches, which was making this too narrow to drive through. But the Aggressor still, a lot of push, not a lot of steering, not a lot of control. And now we're gonna get, there we go, able to kind of brute force it through. Lots of slip, lots of side sliding still. Not liking loose rocks at all. There's probably quite a bit more loose rocks out here than there have been, because I'm sure a lot got knocked down with all the rain. But the Aggressors are getting pretty upset by some of those loose rocks. All right, now we need to come down here and do a side hill exit. Don't slide. Oh, able to just do that. The front end started sliding a little too much, but able to clear. Oh. Lots of slipping and sliding with these today. And unfortunately, it's going to be hard until I go back and review the other videos. It's going to be hard to say how much of this is actually attributed to the ground, but I think some of the other tires I'm testing today will give me a pretty good idea of that as well. This is another area that's not technically an obstacle, or it didn't used to be, although the more the ground underneath gets washed out, the more it kind of becomes one. But today, with the mud down there, yeah, able to bump it. But see how inconsistently the Aggressors bump. You bump it and they choose what direction they're going to go in. And so when you have a tire that requires wheel speed or bumps to get up an obstacle, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes it's just characteristic of how that tire drives. But when it needs the wheel speed and the bumps to get up, but then it doesn't have the consistency and doesn't have the control to bump straight, that creates issues. And that is what we see with the Aggressor. It's a little bit of a wheel speed tire, and it's a very unpredictable tire, especially today. Today is definitely. So on one hand, this is better than the factory inserts because the tires aren't collapsing. But as far as just grip and forward drive go, it's struggling hard today. And now I do believe that most of that is going to be due to the fact that, you know, all the surfaces, even the rock surfaces, the sandstone, I mean, they're dry to the naked eye, but they're all still, if you go touch them, the rocks are cold. They all still feel damp. Everything feels like it's got a layer of just grime on it. So we're definitely going to see some interesting tire behavior this weekend. Oh, now we've hooked that rock and that's not good. Get it off the body there. Definitely going to see some interesting tire handling this weekend. But as I say, this is part of crawling in natural environments, is you've got to deal the hand you're dealt, or you got to play the hand you're dealt. And this is what we're dealing with this weekend. Again, I think a tire with a little more consistency would might be struggling the same way here to walk up slowly, but on the bump, this angle right here, there's no reason why it shouldn't be able to bump straight up this. But as soon as the rear tires do their thing and try to bump up, it just goes in a direction. That actually wasn't terrible. Let's try right on the edge. What I really want to do is get on the other side of where that passenger rear tire is. I want it to lift up onto that rock, but it can't even do that. Now, that insert on the rear, that Endura Blue, is deflecting, and the lugs are deflecting, but those lugs are so soft that they just fold under. Which is something that wasn't happening as much when I had there we go, finally. When I had the crawler innovations, the 475 height crawler innovation in, and for those of you who don't know, that measurement, 475, is not a measurement of what tire it's made for. It's not a measurement of the size of the whole foam. It's the size of the inner and the firm inner foam. So all crawler innovations, like all their little Novas, for instance, in the class, well, all their 1.9. How is it? It's not all of them, because they have some class 1 ones, but like their 4.25 through 4.75 little Novas all use the same size outer foam, and it's the inner foam that is different. So when I say overstuffed, it had a really large, very firm inner foam, and it had that soft outer, but that soft outer only collapsed a few millimeters. Yeah, we just don't have the forward drive to get any further. I'm going to put it back on the rock and try one more time. I will say the rear tires are a little bit loaded up, but they're doing a pretty good job of clearing themselves out and not loading up too much, which, I mean, if you look at the lugs on an Aggressor, it does look like a mud tire. So right here, we're able to go up fine until I need to push up on this little ledge. Now that little ledge on the high side of it is probably 1.5 inches high, but it's kind of smooth. There's not a real good lip on it. And so it's not uncommon to see a tire hesitate there and kind of have to shuttle back and forth to find its line. But today, the Aggressors are not able to find their line. Now, my driver's side front tire, I believe, is almost completely theirs. It's completely off the obstacle. So let's try coming at it this way. Let's go up, try to come over. There we go. Yeah, it's not gonna pull that, and we're gonna fall. If I can reposition it without falling off the obstacle, we'll keep trying. But if it falls, it's done. Okay. There we go. Whoop. Just about. So wheel speed eventually got it up there, but the Aggressor's inherent tendency to slide sideways bit it in the end. Now we come down here, and what we expect is for the rear to let us slide down, and very commonly now we nosedive. Hey, that was really good. The Aggressor able to hold on. Now we take passenger front and we walk it right on this edge, and we use throttle modulation and the front tires to smoothly let us down. And we come up to the most difficult obstacle on this course. And if memory serves, this obstacle is something that the aggressors struggle with on a good day. And today we're not in ideal conditions. Let's see if we can even get up on the obstacle. Gotta come this way. And normally, those fronts can hook enough to pull it up enough. Yeah. Needs the bump. Alright. So we know it's going to need bump. And if you remember, what we need to do is get up, hook the passenger tire up there, and use the side lug to walk us up this very slick and steep rock. Lots of tires need to bump this. A few have been able to do it slowly. The Upgrade RC Rock Claw was able to do this without having to hook side lug and without wheel speed. That was the best tire I've seen on this obstacle. The aggressors are definitely going to need to bump. The question is, are we going to have the control to be able to actually hook that edge and do what we need to do? I think we just need to bump it a little faster, because as soon as forward progress stops, they just slide backwards. So we're going to bump it a little harder. Maybe try to bump it a little more. I don't want to cheat the angle too much and just basically, you know, I kind of want my general, oh no, don't. The rear tires need to be on the rock before the front tires hook the edge, is kind of what we're going for. Okay. Technically. Ugh. Just terrible. Front tire's not doing anything. Nope. Oh, I might have had it. So what we're seeing today is we're unable to hold. Most decent tires at least can get up here and kind of hold themselves in place, and the aggressors are just slipping. Pretty close to calling it a fail. One more shot. Last chance, aggressors. Well, that's a fail. All right. Now coming up here. Most tires do not struggle much with this obstacle. Boom's having a hard time getting up there, but I think we've had some rock shift. Something looks different here. Although we're just not getting grip. I mean, there's the tires are all on the ground and they're not in mud. Ambient temperature right now is about 60 degrees. Oh, come on. But surface temperatures are quite a bit lower still. Got down in the 40s last night, high 40s. It was 49 last night was the low. And of course, just everything still being damp. So maybe not the most ideal temperatures, but then again, we are using the supposedly super soft and sticky compound. So that rock where the driver's side tire is not really hindering us because we're able to easily push it out of the way. we're just not able to get traction. This is bad. I've never seen, I don't think I've ever had anything fail this obstacle. I've never even seen anything struggle to get up here. And all we need to do, all we're trying to do, there we go. So we've got the passenger side tire up there to kind of balance us, because we don't want to fall off the driver's side, because that will hook an axle tube, and it'll never, with a class 2 size tire, it won't be able to get itself back up. And then we deal with some pumpkin hang up right there, and we're testing to see if the front tires, so we've got pumpkin hung up, we've got neither rear tire have traction. Passenger side or driver side is off the ground, and passenger side is more or less off the ground. And what we're testing is to see if the front tires have enough grip to undo a mechanical hang up, pull us over. Nothing struggles there. But today, the aggressors, they can't. There's no grip in this tire today. So, is this insert? I think some of this might be insert. I don't think the Endura silicone inserts are the bee's knees in the Boom Racing Aggressors. So far, the Crawler Innovations have been the only insert that's worked. Alright. Our last rock obstacle before we hit the trails. Just don't have the directionality to do anything consistently. Struggling to even get up to the obstacle. Rear tires just aren't doing anything. I definitely think if I were to run the Enduras again, I would run greens all the way around. But ultimately, I don't think that would make a big difference. Because today, I don't think these inserts are necessarily helping the Aggressors. But these are useless in these conditions. Absolutely useless in these conditions. I'm going to see if I can set that rock in a little more. No reason to be struggling here. No reason to be struggling here. I mean, it's like there's no lugs on this tire. That's how it's behaving. Front tires are not loaded at all. Rear have some mud in them, but they're not loaded up. All right. One more shot. So far, it hasn't even been able to get on the obstacle. Why am I giving these so many chances? Why do I even care? It's a stupid tire. It doesn't look that good. One thing you can't say, even if you think I'm biased against Boom Racing, you can't say I'm not giving them a fair shake. This tire's had more chances than any other tire to show me that it's anything other than subpar. Today, honestly, this is worse than the Hustler today. Alright. See if we can make it up the bypass. Come on. mechanical hang up. Don't have enough drive. All 4 tires are on the ground, but nothing has traction to pull over a very slight mechanical hang up. Front tires have the inability to steer right now, so they're just being pushed. There we go. Even now, it's more steering than I really would have wanted. Can't even make it past the gate to the trails. What a shit tire. I mean, I don't remember if the Aggressors ever completely cleared this course without failing an obstacle. I mean, I will say, quite honestly, even on the factory foams, the only thing that this did better than the factory foams did was the side hill. Everything else, the review with the factory foams, I don't think they were this bad. And again, I am keeping in mind that it's wet, but it's not like super muddy. The tires aren't donuts. They're not super caked. The rocks aren't wet. They're just a little damp from just residual, from the rain and the dew this morning and everything. Not able to hook basic. This is not even an obstacle. Alright. We're done. Don't buy Aggressors, guys. Will you see them again? Will you see them with the 4.5-inch size crawler innovations that I thought might be the perfect match? At this point, with the time I have invested into it, I think so. But at this point, that's the reason I'm doing it, is because, I gotta get up here without falling. It's slick. Because at this point, I'd be doing it just to tell myself that I did, and that I gave them all of the chances that they could possibly get. But today, the Aggressors have done horribly. The Endura silicone inserts, I don't think are the insert for this tire. And this tire does not like any sort of dampness. So here we are once again with the Boom Racing Aggressor. I've had mixed feelings about this tire the entire time I've owned them, every time I drive them. Today, I would avoid these at all costs. Absolutely not worth the money. Absolutely not worth the effort, not worth the time. But I will test them again. I will test them a 4th time. That will definitely be the final time. But, man, that was bad. Till next time, everybody. Have a good one.